The sun rises reluctantly here. Light reaches the land only after negotiating with stone. Peaks stand so high and abrupt that dawn must spill sideways, climbing slowly, illuminating ridges one by one. This is Tibet, a plateau lifted into the sky, where the average elevation exceeds 13,000 feet, and even breathing feels like borrowed time. The air is thin, sharp, and unyielding. Cold settles deep into the ground, preserved by altitude. Nothing here is gentle. Altitude is the first law of this land. The valleys offer no mercy either. They sit higher than mountain summits elsewhere, carved between walls of rock that seem to deny gravity. The land feels immense, stripped to essentials: stone, ice, wind, and above all else, water. Tibet holds more non-polar ice than anywhere on Earth. Glaciers and snowfields sprawl across the plateau, feeding rivers that do not belong to this land alone. From here, water flows outward to sustain nearly half of Asia. Lakes scatter the plateau like fragments of sky fallen to earth, more than 1,500 of them. Some shimmer blue and still, others turn milky white with salt. To the east, the Yarlung Tsangpo slices through the land, carving a canyon deeper than any on the planet. Its walls drop thousands of feet, revealing layers of time compressed into stone. The terrain feels ancient, older than memory, older than names. Above these extremes rises a singular presence, Mount Kailash, perfectly symmetrical, unclimbed, untouched. While other mountains invite conquest, Kailash demands reverence. Pilgrims do not ascend it, they circle it, step by step, prayer by prayer, seeking purification and rebirth. The mountain radiates meaning so dense that even approaching it feels like crossing an unseen boundary. Yet Kailash is only one silhouette among many. Tibet is filled with places that defy explanation, landscapes that resist mapping. This land was born from collision. 50 million years ago, the Indian subcontinent slammed into Eurasia, forcing the Earth upward at unimaginable scale. Rock folded, crust thickened, an entire plateau rose into the jet stream, altering global wind patterns and locking the Asian monsoon into place. Today, the Tibetan Plateau covers nearly 1 million square miles. It is called the Third Pole. Its frozen reservoirs feed 10 of Asia's greatest rivers, supplying water to billions far beyond these heights. Geography here is destiny. The land does not simply exist, it commands. It shapes climate, movement, and survival. Before humans arrived, the plateau already ruled the future. Human life here learned quickly to obey the land. Survival depended on understanding rivers, seasons, and altitude. In eastern Tibet, geography compresses itself. 3 great rivers, the Mekong, the Salween, and the Yangtze, begin their descent within a narrow band of mountains. For more than 200 miles, they run almost side by side, divided by ridges and gorges, shaping settlements defined by isolation. This region is known as Cham, a frontier land with its own language, architecture, and identity. Monasteries rise like fortresses, built tall and inward-looking, designed to endure wind and solitude. Cham existed both connected to and apart from the central plateau. Its rivers formed natural corridors, and those corridors became arteries of trade. For centuries, caravans moved along the tea horse road. From the forests of Yunnan, traders carried compressed bricks of tea northward, across passes higher than 15,000 feet. In return, Tibetan horses traveled south, valued for their strength and endurance. The journey took months. Snow, altitude, and exhaustion claimed many along the way. Trade here was never casual, it was earned. Today, another route traces a similar path. National Highway 318 stretches thousands of miles across China, its Tibetan section known as the Road to Heaven. It crosses more than a dozen high passes, revealing landscapes that shift from glaciers to valleys threaded with prayer flags. Asphalt cuts through emptiness, making the horizon feel unreachable. Along the Langkang River, devotion takes physical form. Salt terraces are carved directly into red cliffs, worked by hand for over a millennium. Each pan belongs to a family, passed down like an heirloom. Before the season begins, prayers are offered to the hot springs that feed them. Labor here is inseparable from belief. The road grows more dangerous. 72 hairpin turns descend a vertical cliff. Mist rolls across unguarded edges. At bends, mani stones line the path. Thousands of prayers carved into stone, released into the air with every passing traveler. Above, golden eagles circle on vast wings, apex hunters of the plateau. To the people below, they are messengers between worlds. Here, movement becomes ritual. Roads are not just routes, they are thresholds where geography, devotion, and survival merge into one continuous act. Beyond the main corridors, Tibet begins to withdraw. Settlements thin. Silence expands. Smoke from a single rooftop becomes the only sign of life across vast distances. The town of Dingqing sits above 14,000 feet, less a town than a frontier outpost. Barley fields fade into barren slopes. Every direction leads upward into greater solitude. Beyond Dingqing, the land ignites into color. The red mountains rise shortly, cliffs stained crimson by iron oxide and shaped into jagged ridges by relentless wind. At nearly 16,400 feet, Zizhu Monastery clings to sheer rock, the highest monastery on Earth. Its isolation is intentional, built for retreat, for meditation, for separation from the world below. Prayer flags whip violently across passes, carrying colors that represent the elements, stretched between earth and sky. Then the pattern breaks. Valleys plunge thousands of feet. Clouds gather low. Rain pours with monsoon force. This is Nyunchi, a region where subtropical forests grow beneath snow-capped peaks. Rainfall feeds the Yarlung Sangpo Grand Canyon, plunging over 17,000 feet at its deepest point. Landslides constantly reshape the terrain. Rivers twist sharply, bending around solitary peaks like deliberate gestures. In spring, the valleys transform again. Peach blossoms erupt across fields beneath white mountains, pink against snow, a brief, impossible season. Families gather for the Peach Blossom Festival, witnessing renewal in a land defined by endurance. Farther west, the plateau hardens. Ali, the roof of the world. Elevations rise above 14,700 feet. Wind scours the plains. Glaciers feed salt lakes. Temperatures swing violently. Amid this emptiness stands the Jada Earth Forest, vast clay formations eroded into towers and ridges that resemble a ruined city. Legends speak of palaces turned to stone. Wild horses cross the plains, thriving where nothing else should. Nearby, the ruins of the Guge kingdom cling to cliffs. Once a powerful center of religion and trade, it collapsed centuries ago. The reasons remain unclear. Tibet holds many such unanswered stories: valleys sealed by altitude, ruins swallowed by desert, rivers vanishing into depths beyond sight. This land does not offer conclusions, it invites reflection, a place shaped by collision, belief, and silence. The story remains unfinished.